So what I talk about is try understanding when you're trying to build a product is whether is this a vaccine or this is an allopathic medicine or this is a vitamin. A vaccine is when I'm dying, I need something now, I'm in big pain, I will spend on it. Allopathic medicine, I can wait, I'll try a little bit. If it doesn't solve, then it's my priority B. Vitamin, get well, build energy, proactive, I don't have an issue. Customers don't spend money on vitamins. They spend money on vaccines. Is your product, when you're looking at a product market fit, a vaccine for a pain that is being addressed? Is a very important part to think through when you're trying to look at a product market fit. There is a product, but there is no market, while there is a problem. One part to understand. Second, all product problems, if they are very, very visible, it's like breast cancer that we are hearing about, or it's like, let's say, a travel management solution. All such products have some or other existing solution. Customers would have adopted some existing solution. It may even be a manual way of working. The question lies in is how significantly different is your product than the next best alternative the customer has and the customer is using, for even for you to say, is it worth the replacement? Is it worth the change? So since we are not dealing with a very niche product in most cases, very well identified customer segment, unmet need. If I'm a niche, well identified, unmet need, then it's a separate point about product market fit. But otherwise, in most cases, you are dealing with where existing solutions exist. And then you need to say, what is the compelling reason for the customer to change? So I would say these two things, and I will come back again. Is this on a priority for the customer to solve? Is this a pain? Second, is this having a compelling reasons for the customer to move? Are two important questions to ask when you're looking at visible, direct, horizontal markets as against a niche specific market. And look at these things. Coming on to some of these, I'll come back again as I have additional questions to take about. But I'm done for now.
Thank you so much, Sharad. Excellent summary, and I really loved the vaccine concept, even for me. Whatever you are helping me, it's really fantastic. Thank you so much, Sharad.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Dr. Rajiv, would you like to please share your thoughts on this topic?
Sure. Since Sharad sir explained it in using an example, so maybe what I'll do is I'll try to maybe next 5 minutes try and explain the fundamentals or basics of the validation. Right now, when it comes to validating the market need and the solution, I feel it's a very crucial step for any startup. Right, it involves simple accessing or assessing that there is a demand for your product or service or not, and if your service or your solution is effectively addressing that demand or not. That's in a nutshell, that is what is validating the market. Right now, if as a startup founder, a lot of time we see that the market need or the validation is not done, and just because there is a brilliant idea in my head, I jump into it and I start doing that. But market validation is very, very crucial and very important because of three major factors. If any startup founder understands, they will understand the criticality of it. One, market validation is important to ensure that the risk of failure is reduced. Right, you have validated your solution and your product, the need of the solution, and therefore the failure risk is reduced. Second is, if you have done that validation, you will always make informed decisions, right? Be it in your marketing strategies, your product development, your resource allocation, or anything around that, right? Third is, if the market validation is done well, there is a report, there is an asset that comes to the startup founder and the startup as well, which really increases the investor's confidence. So it's very important, and all our steps end of the day, every startup would like to have their investors with them who can, you know, really give them the seed fund and growth fund and whatnot. So that's very important. Now, for a startup founder, again, the fundamentals, how do they start? Like the question which came from Namrata as well. How to validate the market, how to validate the need or the solution. Typically, I would say there would be a six-step approach to it, right? One is you need to first define your target audience. That for this kind of solution or this kind of problem exists in which market segment. Define your target audience. Conduct the market research. Now, market research, again, she had a question: secondary research versus primary research. That is very, very dependent on your target market, your competition, your industry trends, geography, and so on. You can use surveys, you can use interviews, focus group, online research, hire some research companies or anything like that. Once that is done, any startup should ideally move towards creating your MVP, you know, just to test your basic version. And there is no right time to launch. If the MVP is launched, is available, if it's created with a basic version of the solution, the core value is there, you know, launch it as a, you know, a trial phase or whatever, you know, pilot, allow and users to use, onboard, gather feedback. Very important. Once that MVP is launched, test your MVP. Small groups you can distribute, potential customers, gather their feedback, you know, evaluate the responses, iterate your product, redefine, relaunch, refine your solutions constantly. Now, while you are doing that, you need to constantly keep measuring your traction and engagement, right? Engagement in terms of, you know, someone just loading your, say for example, it's a mobile app, someone just loading your app but not using it, versus, you know, conversion rates, customer satisfaction, how much is your revenue actually getting impacted during this MVP phase. Once all of this is done, last thing very important in validation would be how do you iterate and pivot your solution. Last session I did mention, you know, biggest chance of failure of any startup would be if the startup founders fall in love with their solution and not the problem. Here you need to fall in love with the problem, because if you fall in love with solution, you will never pivot it, you will never change, you will not be open to changes. So that becomes important. Now, during this entire journey, there would be a lot of do's and don'ts, and I'll just share a few do's and don'ts during this validation phase based on my experience. Say, for example, do's. You need to really engage with your target audience. You take examples of any of the, you know, really successful startups who have become unicorns recently. They actually have gone and sat and discussed and experienced what the users are experiencing firsthand, right? You have to directly engage with your target audience. Validation should ideally be started from the day one, you know, even before, you know, during the ideation stage or as early as possible. You can't delay it. Okay, let me create a masterpiece and only then I start validation. No, start validating as early as possible. Be open to the feedback. It can be, and critics are the best people who can help you improvise. Take the criticism constructively, improvise your solution constantly, and be adaptable, flexible, you know, be it in your product, your solution, your marketing strategy, business strategy, anything is changeable based on the solution. At the end of the day, those customers are going to use it. In terms of don'ts, I feel majorly three of this. Many times we'll see startup founders saying, you know, this is my gut feeling, this is my intuition, I think this is the only way to work, this is the only thing that will work. Validate it. Don't solely depend on your intuitions. Intuitions are good, sometimes it really helps, but validate those assumptions with the right data, the feedback. You know, just don't go by personal beliefs. Always assume your competition is better than you, and then start working towards how can you compete with those competition. Have your competitive landscape very well defined, and then create your USP, your differentiators. Overlooking your competition is the biggest mistake you will do. And as I was saying, ignoring criticism or negative feedback will be another big mistake. Every negative feedback will help you improvise one step better towards a better product or solution, right? That's the do's and don'ts. Coming to my simple experience-based tips on or best practices, which I think, as Dinakar sir says, wisdom, I would say every startup founder should ensure they have validated the demand and solution before investing heavily. A lot of times we'll come across, founders who will say 9 failures and this is the 10th one, and so on. And sometimes we'll say a line added to that saying, and I've lost millions. So those losses can be minimized, if you're validated, and then only we start investing heavily. Early movers advantage or early adopters, those kind of target segment customers. As an early mover advantage company, and there are segment of customers who are very early adapters, they are very experimental in things. We need to target those customers. Only after that maybe influencers as well, but early adapter customer segment is very critical for any success of any new launch. When you are collecting the feedback, execute it or iterate it very quickly and relaunch quickly. Don't wait for again the masterpiece. So quick iterations are very important. Okay, validation methods can be multiple, right? So always have a balance of qualitative and quantitative. I've seen many times only the quantitative ones are being taken up, and because it's easy to measure, it's very easy to iterate and do it, but focus on balancing both qualitative and quantitative validations. And obviously during this entire journey, while this entire validation is going on, constantly keep feeding this, that we are doing this, we are doing this, we are doing this to your mentors and industry experts. Because while you share these experiences, you will get a lot of tips from them. Also, it validates or it creates a sense of lot of assurance to those market experts, the investors, the mentors, and with word of mouth it spreads further. So keep building relationships constantly during this entire phase.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Dr. Rajiv. We will just listen to Mr. Chandrasekhar now and then get back to the discussion. Absolutely. Mr. Chandrasekhar, would you like to please take over and share your wisdom on validating? Yeah.
First of all, Dinakarji, thank you for this, amazing forum, for having created this amazing forum, and listening to Sharadji and Dr. Rajiv, is such a pleasure, because these are all extremely valuable, insights, that is coming from the experts. From my perspective, I'm going to borrow some of the thoughts that they've shared. But let me begin by saying that, most startups fail, not because they can't build the product, but as rightly, Sharadji and Rajivji said, they don't build what the customers really want. And I think this is where, the real issue is, which means I've also seen in the world of startup, because I'm an investor. And sometimes, what worries me is that these startups are more focused, in terms of meeting the deadline to launch the product, because they have a business plan, a so-called business plan. And the team's effort is only in terms of implementing that, not even realizing that they need to learn about the market, they need to learn about the customer, and then quickly adapt to their needs. Now, I'm saying this because this is exactly, what Rajivji said, I think the problem is that, how quickly, can we learn in terms of the mistakes, and then ensure that, we are able to bring the right product which the customer wants. And exactly, Sharadji highlighted in the beginning saying that, boss, wo mera problem utna bada nahi tha. Wo ek sa, it was just one of the problems. So I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in this journey is that a problem well defined is a problem half solved. So for the startups, the bigger message is, are they putting the maximum effort in defining the problem? Because only when you do that, you're going to come up, with an exciting solution, and that exciting solution can also be implementable. So I'm going to borrow, what Sharadji said, if a problem has been identified, the bigger question that needs to be asked is this problem popular? Is this problem growing? Is this problem urgent, so I need to fix it? Is this problem expensive, and therefore can I come with a solution which is much more affordable? Is this problem becoming a nuisance, a mandatory issue, and therefore I need to come up with a solution which the customers will find as a delight? And finally, is this problem happening frequently? And therefore I need to come up with something, which is much more, sensible. Now I'm saying this because, Peter Drucker said very beautifully that there is nothing so useless as doing things which should not be done at all. And unfortunately, in the world of startup, what we see is that they are so hung up upon coming up with their product or solution, not even realizing wo customer ko chahiye ki nahi. So I think the first important definition of validation we kya hai? Because Rajiv ji, touched on it right from the beginning. What is validation? Validation begins with first gathering the evidence. But it's not just gathering the evidence. It's about learnings that come out of that evidence. And those learnings, how do they come? Because we are experimenting. Because we are doing user testing. And as Rajiv ji rightly said, because of that only we are able to make an informed decision making. We are able to de-risk, whatever it is. And therefore, we are able to come up with a faster way to ensure that the customer is able to appreciate. Now, I'm saying all this because our product is the most honest and tangible expression of our mission. When you show that honesty comes out naturally, and that's where the customer gets hooked on. Because building great products is all about knowing the users. And unfortunately, ye galti hoti hai. We don't put enough effort to know the users. We think our product is great, not even realizing, whether the customer has felt our product is great. And therefore, when MVP was touched, I think it's such a beautiful concept. You need to come up with an MVP, which could even be a small, shorter version of an MVP, and not be even a full-blown MVP itself is short. But uska bhi ek chota version aap kar sakte ho, just to ensure that you're able to get the feedback of the customer. So to me, this validation, the understanding of the market begins with three important concepts which I learned the hard way. One is the PS fit, the problem solution fit. Am I clear about that? Second, obviously, sabko pata honga, PM fit, your PMF, which is your product market fit. But I think the third thing, which is very important that we started realizing, is the founder market fit. Is that founder right for the market? Which means, does the founder even understand the level of competition that is there? Does the founder even understand what is the scalability that is possible in that market? Does the founder even realize that pivoting is something that needs to happen based on the customer feedback that is coming in? So that's what I've learned. I'll stop there because this conversation is so interesting.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chandrasekhar. It was something very, very inspiring and very interesting. And before we go to the questions, I did a fundamental mistake. I'm still learning to do this job. It's not that accustomed. I'm not accustomed so much in this situation. See, I have forgotten to get everybody to introduce themselves. First, it was Sharad Heda, who is also my mentor through SIT. He's a great, what should I say, wise and very, very witty, and he speaks very few words, but the words are extremely powerful. He has built a company from zero to becoming one of the world's largest IT companies in India. He is now out of that company, and now he's basically mentoring as his main activity and main passion. And Dr. Rajiv Dalmia runs a kind of an accelerator, investor, what do you call it, as incubator, and has been also in financing. Apart from that, he also mentors companies, and numbers would run into more than 100. It's a big number. And same is the case with Mr. Chandrasekhar Kuperi, who's also an investor and manages a fund. So these are three people who have been really great guys in the industry. So with that very brief introduction, if I missed out anything, please explain yourselves, either Mr. Chandrasekhar, Mr. Sharad, or Mr. Rajiv, Dr. Rajiv. Otherwise, we can go open the floor for question answers. Yeah. Okay. So
we are good. We'll take questions.
Yeah. So when you go to the Q&A, my request is please introduce yourself and then ask a question. Please go on. Now it is open. Anybody can ask a question. Sagar, you can go. You wanted to ask some question. Please go on.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Sagar Maudgal, and I have two startups at MVP level. One is into sustainable architecture design. The other one is into recruitment for manufacturing firms. More than a question, a little prelude to what my question is coming from. When I heard the three of you talk about validation, okay, I heard a word called problem, and that this problem is a point of perception, and that is where I feel the biggest problem is my perception about somebody's perception. Though there are so many tools, but we founders, we start off with perception, and that is where the problem starts. Now, what I would want to ask is there some technique at identifying perceptions itself at the basic level, even without getting into the market?
Yeah, it's about validation. Maybe we go the reverse way. First, Mr. Chandrasekhar, would you please give your wisdom on that, and then we go to Dr. Rajiv and then to Sharad. Please, Chandrasekhar.
Sagarji, I may not address your question directly, but I want to, focus on something that has been my learning, in this journey. So the word problem to me means what is the pain point? And when I speak about the pain point could be varied depending on the customer that you're talking to. For example, it could be a financial pain point where probably the customer is spending too much and the customer is looking for an offering which is affordable. The pain point could be a productivity pain point where the customer probably is wasting significant time and is looking for a product or a solution which is, giving him the optimal time by which, the effectiveness could be there. It could be a process pain point, where probably the customer is using too many gadgets or too many, sort of resources to get things done. And therefore the process itself, becomes too nagging. And therefore, is there a solution which is sort of simplifying or unifying things for the customer? Or is it a support pain point? What I mean by support is probably the customer is not getting the right level of support. So therefore, there is a startup which says that I don't only offer you a product or a solution, but I also give you an effective, customer service. So I think for me, what I'm trying to tell you is that a problem is something which is very privy or internal to a customer. And when we say that, we have to understand what the customer wants. We are using a term called customer discovery. What does the customer truly want? What is, the real pain point that the customer is going through? And therefore, am I coming up with a solution which is first implementable? Because there are a lot of solutions that are there, but the customer finds it difficult to implement. So the solution can't be just a solution. The solution must be an implementable solution, because the concern is that when an idea is culminated into a solution, we think the idea will succeed. No. The idea will only succeed, when the customer is able to implement that easily. And this is where, we want to understand the problem from the customer's perspective in terms of, where is the pain point, what is the pain point, and therefore, what am I offering? You spoke about, the perception. I think the perception comes in terms of truly understanding who is the user, who is this audience, who is this community, who is this buyer, who is this influencer, what is that persona, what is it, that I'm trying to get done. And I think that is, very important. Then only I think, the startup can come up with the right sort of messaging to ensure that the customer understands how that solution can be implemented the way the customer wants it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chandrasekhar. Rajiv ji, your wisdom on that.
Sure. See, same like Chandra sir, I'm not too sure if I understood the question well, Sagar ji, but if it is about how can or what advice I have for startups or its founders in terms of, in case there is a perception created, pre-generated or assumed already in the market for the startup or the founder, I would say the best way would be to approach it very structured way, right? you need to ensure that you identify the source of that perception, whether it's a negative, especially if it's a negative perception. First is identify the source of the perception, where it is coming from. You need to start to listen to those, the source, engage with them, understand it well. I don't know, I cannot certify if it is true or not, but there is a saying which says there cannot be smoke without fire. And trust me, I personally have experienced a lot of smoke without fire, but then try and find out, right? At least if there is something which can help you improvise, always be open to that, right? But in this entire exercise, the startup founder has to be very transparent and honest. Absolutely. See, if the foundation of any startup is based on lies or any manipulated thing, trust me, it doesn't have a long shelf life, right? So be transparent and honest in this journey. Constantly when you engage, keep showing them your positive sides, your positive aspects, how you are trying to build, what social change or impact you are trying to bring, what is the global problem you are trying to solve, or for that matter, how will it impact so many lives, right? How will it enhance the customer experience? What your solution, how is it different, and customer experience will be enhanced or will be better? Also, by human nature, we all know that if suppose, I'm just making it up, if Amitabh Bachchan comes and says use this soap, a lot of people actually start using it, right? So try using influencers. That is again very, very effective way to to manage your negative perception, especially. These days, being digital, especially post-COVID, I'll say one thing that for perception you should always keep it in your radar is the digital presence. Use social media as effectively as possible, and that will really help you in your perception management, especially the negative side. You can even use media if you like. Sometimes media really helps. Some people still have the belief that not all media is sold media, and a lot of things they can write, especially the words, choice of words that media have. Sometimes it resonates with the end customers really well, right? They understand the deep emotional connects and all that. So media help is again something you can work on. And don't lose time in this entire journey. While you are just trying to manage your perception, ensure that you are doing your continuous improvements, working on work feedback, whatever small, big, whatever you collect, keep working on continuous improvement. I think this all will help.
Thank you so much, Rajiv ji. Sharad, would you like to conclude with your wise remarks, please?
Thank you. Sagar, I think I understood the question a little differently. So pardon me if I'm a little on the tangent. All of us as human beings, we are made because of all the experience that we have gathered, the journey we have traveled. So we are made of our beliefs, biases, our fears, and our assumptions. All of us. And we behave or we look at the world based on these four that we have. It's very important when you are looking at a startup that you don't get colored by it, because it's not your belief, it's not your assumption, but it's what the customer is looking for tends to become important. Write down, suppose all of us just write down my beliefs, my assumptions, my fears, and and if you write all of them down, beliefs, assumptions, fears, you will start finding out the lens through which you are trying to understand the customer. For example, when we just started this discussion, we said three of us will say few words and then we'll break into question and answers. We have made an assumption, we know what you're looking for. We have made an assumption what we should be talking about, and starting to talk 15 minutes without asking you what will make sense to you. This is exactly what we do in our businesses. This is exactly what we do when we are trying to build anything. It's very important to step back. While it sounds so simple, very important to step back and take that away. Go to you first, me later. Remove those four lenses that we have. I think we'll get a much better product.
Sharadji, as usual, extremely wise and very, very pointed message. I think I also learn every time. Thanks a lot. Now we first go to Namrata for our question, and then we go on to Abhijit. Yeah, Namrata, please go on.
Yeah, I think the question I had got answered by Sharad sir's answer. The main question was, when we conduct market survey, it is somehow it should be unbiased when we do market survey, but somehow when we put in the questions, because we have a product, our product, we try to put in that into the customer's mind, how to avoid this kind of personal bias, which goes in without our knowledge sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think what you said is very true, and it's definitely answered by Sharad, so that all of us have heard that. So we'll now go to Abhijit. Would you like to ask your question or comment, Abhijit? Please go on.
Absolutely. I think so. I'm seeking some feedback here. Just to give you a quick background, I run a company called Ikatra, which is a micro learning solution on WhatsApp. Now, this the background is I built this during the pandemic, while there was a massive challenge of digital education and access to learning. Obviously, the pandemic didn't last, or we did not expect the effects to last as longer as it was expected during that time. So for the past almost a year, I've been trying to find or pivot into something better, and use a similar platform in different ways, and also just pulling out on some of the previous discussion that we had, is so the perception so far for me and the product has been around education and access to education. I still believe in the cause because it's still needed at a certain degree. But I think from a pivot perspective, a couple of interesting elements have come across, wherein one is we're looking at companies who face issues in terms of lead generation, and we're helping them qualify leads through an educational interface on WhatsApp or other channels. So it's the same product, but a slightly different use case. And obviously, with now the rise of GPT and AI and all of the discussions around that, we've been also able to implement that and have like fully AI generated tutoring and content generation and learning on demand that has been built. So these are two products that have come across in this pivot phase. Now the question is primarily, how do I position myself with this new identity? Because one is we've been able to raise some capital, but currently the sentiment around education is not very good. Like you go to someone and say you're a tech company and they shut your door. So like, what should I do? How should I go about it?
Yeah, I think Abhijit, we will definitely listen from the experts. What I understood, and how would I rephrase your question from today's context, is that we have a situation where initially we started with a product which was validated and there was a demand, and over time the demand doesn't exist, and now we need to migrate and transition to a different product which possibly is like some kind of an offshoot with the original idea. So if such a thing happens, how would we go about, would be the question. So my request is, since Abhijit has been quite elaborate in his explanation, so I request the experts to give a brisk answer, and then we go on to the next one. Please go on.
Let me pick this up. Abhijit, go check GUMSTACK, Gumstack. Okay. Gumstack is a solution which uses WhatsApp as a front end for lead generation. And just as for Salesforce or any one of those things where you have a fairly back-end engine, this one uses, let's say, WhatsApp instead of email. Assume I have to do a blast, I'm doing a WhatsApp blast instead of an email blast. And I'm tracking the response on that. So there are answers like that already which are in the market. Now, the
Right.
question to understand is, when the market is what it is and the investors are not coming in, if you are on the revenue side of the challenge for the client, chances are customers will adopt you and VCs will back you. Am I helping somebody drive his revenue up? You can either be on the revenue side or you can be on the cost side. You have to decide. Otherwise, generally, I'm helping meet some requirement which is not very clear. In the world of today, it doesn't work. If you're on the revenue side, it tends to work a lot better. Pivot around the revenue side, like the lead generation, use a thing like Gumstack. I think that might just work for you, but create a value proposition which is very focused on very clear benefit around. India is in a growth stage. There is enough around revenue growth. People are looking at investing in. I would say that would be a better answer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So anybody else has any question or any comment?
Am I audible, Dinkarji?
Yeah, please go on. Please go on, Manish.
So actually, my question is like a bit out of context, probably. I'm not sure, but might be matching to that what Abhijit had mentioned. So as he said, as he talked about edtech, actually, right? So I basically I'm trying to do a product for solving the tech recruitment problems. Being in the industry for about 20 years into the IT, and I feel so that this tech recruitment problems is not solved yet. And the perception problem which Sagarji was talking, maybe that not from the problem perception side, but I feel so from the solution perception side, the industry is having a deep-rooted perception that in the tech recruitment everything is done, and Naukri is there, LinkedIn is there, and market ऐसे ही चलता है, ऐसे ही solution है. So this is the perception. My question is that how this perception can be broken, and as Abhijit said that this, when people say this one, you are a tech company, people shut the door. So how about that job tech? Because when I also talk about that, this job tech is there, people make faces. Sometimes I have felt so, but when I talk to the people of the industry, when I explain them the problem, that where they are losing that revenue, where they are putting lot of cost in terms of time and in terms of money, they are losing so much in hiring one single person into the tech field, right? Then they understand the problem. And also when I talk about my solution, I don't talk about my solution, but I ask them, is this the probable solution which you would like to try? Then yes, I get the answers, yes, I would like to try. But still when I talk about job tech, yes, people don't understand this one, that anything new can be done into that recruitment field.
So Manish, what is the question?
Question is this actually, right, that how is that this perception in the job tech industry, particularly the tech jobs actually, right? How this perception can be broken, that everything into that recruitment is done and the Naukri is there as a big brother and everything is solved already.
So Manish,
Dinakar.
sorry.
Yeah, please go on.
Sorry, Manish.
Yeah.
I'm
Hold
butting
on,
in.
sir. Yeah.
You are in a market which is very large. Every company wants to hire large number of tech companies, tech folks or non-tech folks. It doesn't matter. And you are in a market which has in the last 6 months to 1 year has at least got 20 platforms which have been launched to solve the recruitment problem using technology. It's a large market. It's visible. Everybody can see it's a pain. So there are 20 people jumping into it. In a situation like this, it's no point in trying to say, I'm going to go and find and change everybody's perception about what problems is this a best way of solving the problem. please a micro niche instead of boiling the ocean and trying to reach everybody. Now, finding that micro niche and talking to them is where your challenge will lie, as against trying to change the world's perception. We can't change the world's perception. I'm not sure that I'm answering the question directly, but that's my suggestion would be your product market fit you have to be clear about. You will get some answers out of it.
Yeah, I think Sharadji, what you said was very, very true. I think even Dr. Rajiv was speaking about that in trying to validate and with a very, very small target group, not that you try to solve the problem as a universal problem, but then very, very focused target group. And that's the key message, I think, Manish, to really narrow down and then focus even more than what you would have otherwise done. So that
मनीष आप जब शादी करने जाते हो ना तब एक लड़की आप फाइनल करते हो जो सबसे अच्छी होती है ना. Find that one customer for whom you are the God's gift to mankind first, and find such 20 customers around it instead of trying to say यहाँ तो 1 lakh buyers and everybody will do my job. Find that one who's willing to marry you, and then you will find something more. I think that will help you answer some of this. वो एक लड़की ढूंढिए.
Thank you.
Because I am in recruitment and I had a word with Manish. Now I just had 1 or 2 lines over here. Manish, the problem still is there, but what is the problem that you are trying to look that Naukri is solving or all these portals are solving? No, they are adding more problems. They are actually not solving problem. The problem is actually for people like us who actually do that bull job. Recruitment जो करते हैं उनको कोई टेक्नोलॉजी अभी तक हमको नहीं मिला है, because how I can get a candidate to attend an interview today, that is the problem. The HRs don't revert back. That is the problem. The real problem is there. That is, I am losing revenue because I am losing my time. I am losing revenue because the HR is not responding. These are the actual ground problems. Okay, that is, as a recruiter, my feedback, and that is not a perception, that is a reality.
Thank you so much, Sagar. Thank you very much. So before we end, I think our discussion is quite short. So before we end, let me ask a question, and then with that, each one of you can give your wisdom, and then we can close. See, if you look at any startup, I am also a startup. I've been thinking of working as a startup for quite some time, and keep getting a lot of ideas. And each idea is a fantastic idea. Today it's all about validating the problem and then making sure that the market is there for that.
Mr. Dinakar, I have a question. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you have the last question. Okay, please go on, and then I'll ask mine. Yeah, please go on.
Yes, Architect Supriya, and we are into sustainable architectural designs. I'm from Bangalore. My question to the team is, can we create a need? I suppose that at times the market will not know. A customer may not know what is their need. They may be driven by their own perceptions, or they have their own influences. Can we create a need?
Yeah, that's a good thing to conclude on. Sharad, would you like to take on first, and then we can...
Just 1 sec. I have somebody at the door. I'll take 30 seconds and come back if Dr. Rajiv and Chandrasekhar can...
Yeah, so Dr. Rajiv, would you like to take on that first then?
The real need is to open the door.
Sure, absolutely. See, I'll keep it in a very generic way, and not, may or may not be only relevant to startups. If I talk about my success mantra as a salesperson for 23 years globally, and if someone asks me, what is your success mantra in terms of sales, I have always used the exact line which you mentioned, Architect Supriya, that the only thing I do is I just create the need in the minds of the customers, business flows. So yes, you can create the need. Now let me validate what I mean by that. Most of the times, see, you will know the problem in the industry, the market, the specific organizations, right? Most of the times, the senior leaders in companies, they're not aware that actual problem is this. The solution is this. This is exactly what I need. They don't know. They are running around to understand. See, I'm not saying that the senior leaders, they don't know what they're doing or they don't understand things. What I'm saying is they don't understand what solution is the piece of the puzzle to this problem, right? So as soon as you create a situation where you are able to use the right solution which resonates with the senior leaders, which solves the problem, you're actually, all you are doing is you're seeding the need in the mind. They will validate it. They will take time to come back to you maybe. But once you have seeded the need in the minds, business flows. So yes, you can definitely create the need.
Thank you so much. Mr. Chandrasekhar, would you like to share your thoughts on that?
Supriya, I'll share, what happened, when I did a transaction with Ritesh Agarwal of OU. So fortunately, I had a conversation and I asked him, Ritesh, how do you ensure, that you get so much of, customers, and what is important for you in terms of the product that you're building? He just told me one thing. He said that, it is extremely important for him to build something that 100 people will absolutely love to use, rather than getting 1,000 people who will simply like it. So I think that's the definition of need for me. What is it, that you have created in a way that the customer is going to use it, rather than simply telling you, Supriya ji, acha lagta hai. Because all this liking, sometimes can get us crazy to believe that, no, we are in the right direction. And I think I really liked what Sharadji, said in the beginning. Okay, I think if you can, get this early adopters, and then test with them, and also the fact that, if you can have a close group, probably your friends who are honest with you, to even give you the feedback, I think you'll truly understand, is there a need or not? And I think that's why I always say that, can you go deeper to understand whether you're capable of defining the problem well? Do you know that it's popular? Do you know that it's growing? Do you know that it is expensive? Do you know that it is mandatory? Do you know that it is, frequent? I think that's where, this game becomes even more interesting, is my view.
Thank you so much, Chandrasekhar ji. Sharad ji.
No, I'm good. I'm good. No, nothing major to add. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a question before we end, a very quick question. As an entrepreneur, as a startup guy, I keep getting a lot of ideas. Every day morning, I get 10 ideas where we could look at a new product. How do you think, as a startup entrepreneur, what would be your advice to a startup entrepreneur to really be able to control his mind, so that the ideas don't come, and ideas coming means, again, distraction. Distraction means loss of focus. What is your suggestion? And with that, also, you can please share your closing comments. Sharad, please go on. Yeah. Sharad, are you there, or am I lost? Or
No, you're there. You're there. We are not. I'm not able.
Okay, then maybe Chandrasekhar, you go on first, and then Sharad can join later. Yeah, please go on.
Dinakar ji, it is said that we get 60,000 thoughts a day. That's what they say. So, which means 60,000 ideas we hang up. Only one mantra I've learned the hard way, because I'm also an entrepreneur. It is not in the power of idea that success lies. It is always in the power of execution. Okay. I think, whenever we get an idea, the most important question we need to ask is, do I have the capability to execute this? Because I come from a finance background, and we sort of understand the utility of a business model. And we always say that ideas never fail. It's only the business model that fails. So keep revisiting the business model.
Okay.
And one of the things that I've started embracing long time back is this concept called business model canvas, the 9 blocks.
Yeah.
It's so easy, to come and revisit. Hum sahi ja rahe ki nahi. That's it.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Rajiv ji, over to you.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Rajiv ji. You're on mute.
Sorry. See, my thought on ideas is a little different. The way I have always approached ideas. I always keep a small notepad with me anytime, and a small pencil most of the time, because pens are difficult to carry. And you're absolutely right. Ideas keep flowing in. I keep writing the ideas. That's what my approach is. I keep writing the ideas every day, at least 20, 30 different thoughts. Someday or the other, something very similar comes in, and I say, okay, so now in say last 1 year, this particular idea or similar threads are the most repeated ones. So for example, total I've written 100 things. Of that, say 39 times I've written something in the similar lines. I just pick that up and start working on it. That's my way of picking up ideas.
Super. Thank you so much. Thank you. Sharatji, over to you for the final word.
So Dinakar, all of us, our minds can think million times faster than what our hands and legs can execute. So ideas are there, mind will generate, mind will dream, they'll keep coming in. I think it's important to know our hands and legs, which means the money that I have, the people that I have, my own ability to execute, and then choose that one thing which you are desperately committed to do it and which is solving a problem. Yeah. Keep writing. I just love what Dr. Rajiv said. Keep writing down. You know, somewhere in our mind, when thousands of things are going, there is some connection between them which may not be very apparent. You just keep writing. You just keep writing. You know, it's like big data. This is all that big data, thousands of data points. But when you try putting an equation, you will get some equation at some point of time. Let all that big data start becoming a concrete data in your mind. Let it not evaporate. Something will happen at that point of time. But till then, take one and execute it like hell.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much. And for me, learning today has been very important for the next sit chat. I realized that if I get 3 experts, we would have more people interested in participating. I don't see that change because it was the same as last week. I think that will take time to pick up. And 3 people means I feel we would really not be able to deep dive with any one person. So next week onwards, I'll only invite one expert so that we can really deep dive and then chew the expert so that the wisdom is really drawn out. And I'm going to invite you once again because there are so many topics on startup which is extremely interesting. So thanks a lot. Thanks a ton for participating and for really sharing your wonderful wisdom. I'm sure it would really benefit many of us as struggling startups. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sharatji, can you please
and before we go, would it be possible for all of us to switch on the camera so that we can take a small screenshot of all of us together? Whoever is still there.
Sharatji, can you please tell the name again which you said for the company? Shoot, whatever the name?
Gumstack.
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 Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Manish and Sachin, would you like to switch on your cameras? Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you very much and have a nice evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.